Okay, you are a lash artist and you are struggling, and I get it, but you are struggling with gaining clientele. Now, I'm gonna break down the things you need to know when it comes to gaining clientele. And this is gonna be a two-part video because I have a lot to say and I really wanna make sure you guys get it. So I'm not rushing through it. It's gonna be a two-part. Let's go. Okay, so we're gonna talk about a couple things here. Now, we're gonna talk about why you're struggling, where things went wrong, how we can avoid this, and what your next steps should be. Okay, but as we do that, it's Friday and my husband left my ass, so I'm gonna go stay by my mom. Okay, I realize now that I said it like that it sounds like he left me. He didn't leave me. He went to Florida with his friends, and I'm just chilling. So why not go stay by my mom for a couple days, you know? That means we are gonna walk and talk, okay? We're gonna get ourselves together while I explain to you guys why gaining clientele is such a struggle and kind of how to fix it. Also, I was really trying to give you guys fantastic audio here, but I realized that my mics just died and I'm not gonna wait for them to charge. I'm literally just gonna record the video. But we will be taking these to my mom's because I think we'll record some more. I feel like I'm acting like I have to take a lot of things, but I really don't. I just genuinely need to take my laptop and that's it, because I just left a bunch of stuff at my mom's when I got married, so I can just show up at any time. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between knowing when you're ready to build your clientele and when you're not, because this is something that isn't not talked about enough, and it's a massive part as to why a lot of lash artists are struggling or feel defeated or feel frustrated when it comes to building your clientele. Now, this is super important to understand where you are as a lash artist. Okay, now so many of us get certified, and then once we're certified and we start practicing, we're like, okay, how do we get clients through the door? What do we do now? How do I jump into building my social media? How do I jump into getting my first model, getting my first client? What do I do? What am I doing wrong? Oh my God, it's so overwhelming. And I understand that, but this is exactly where we go downhill, because this is just not the priority right now. So this is why it's so important to understand where you are, because at different levels of your lashing career, you're gonna have different priorities. And the reason why you're gonna have that is because you need to hone in on certain priorities at certain times to make sure you're ready for the next level. Now, this is something I think that is an educator's issue, because what happens is we try to sell all these courses and all these educators are putting out, their trainings and their this and their that. And oh yeah, business is included and business knowledge and how to gain clientele and marketing this and marketing that, all included in this one course. But that in itself is a red flag. Now, you might be thinking, why in the world would that be a red flag? Because I'm trying to get the most for my money or get the most out of my training. And I completely understand that. But you have to understand that when it comes to starting something new, starting a new skill, starting a whole business is a completely different venture. So when we get into our lash trainings and when we start talking about the technical side of things, in that moment, that is the priority. And the problem is that these educators and these trainers, not to point fingers, but it's become a norm in the industry where we try to incorporate absolutely everything under the sun. And this is where the information gets diluted and the students can't retain anything. Now, bringing it back to building up your clientele, the reason why this is even relevant to that is because what happens is we start to add all of these things into our trainings where we're like, oh, we're going to help you get clients. You're going to follow this, and this. But when that student leaves their training, they're trying to build this new skill and they're trying to build clientele, which is not the right path to go down, because you're going to end up burning yourself out before you even get started. And that's exactly why it can be so frustrating and so daunting, because you're doing everything mediocre instead of doing one thing great. One of the biggest changes that I made into my lashing curriculum very early on, because I saw this happening, is I stopped offering business knowledge, because it is two completely separate courses that require two completely different focuses, and you're bringing people back and forth and you're having them focus on too much at one time, and it could just be overwhelming. And this is why when we jump into training, or not even training, sorry, when we jump into lashing and then we're still trying to build up that skill and we're like, okay, how do I get clients now? It's too much and we haven't perfected anything. So the skill is actually what we should be prioritizing at the beginning. The building of clientele is a marketing tactic. It's a marketing strategy. It's all about business, positioning, branding, all of that good stuff. But that is an entire different ball game, and it's such a big thing to tackle. And what happens is we get, again, overwhelmed. I keep saying it, but that's literally what happens. So when we are at the beginning phases, what we should be doing as educators and what we should be doing in that moment is focusing on the skill, focusing on the technique, and really honing in on that. Because once you get confident in your practice and you get confident in that, then once you get to that level of now building your clientele and having people come through the door, you already have that bit of confidence that's actually going to show with everything you do in terms of marketing yourself. How many of us, and the reason why I'm asking this is because I get this a lot, how many of us are trying to get clientele and then we're like, oh, well, I want to get clients, but I don't want to charge too much because I don't want it to be unreasonable, and I just don't know what to do, and I don't want to come off like a fraud, and I don't want to, give something to somebody that's not worth it. This is exactly what we have to end. We have to end that, because this is going to give us a much clearer path to gaining clientele. Okay, so my point here is that if you are in a beginner phase, if you are in a phase where you are struggling, then you should not be worrying about getting clientele in, because I promise you, you're going to be tackling far too much. It is time for you to hone in on your skill set, make sure you're comfortable there, and then jump into that. Now, for those of you who are actually looking to get certified, this is actually a great way for you to vet your educator, because if your educator is trying to teach you everything under the sun, then they are not a master of anything, because they know firsthand that you cannot master something when you're learning everything, okay? You have to be able to do one thing at a time, get really good at it, and then jump into the next thing. And I really want you guys to understand that when we talk about technique versus business, like, those are two completely different things. So that means that you're gonna need two completely different trainings. And I know so many of you guys struggle with this exact same problem, which is exactly why I created my community, because this is exactly the space that you need, where all of the resources you need, all of the courses you need really on business and skill set and building that skill set you're going to have access to, because this is where the business building portion of it comes into play. And I think that's the issue in the industry, is being able to identify what it takes to be a great lash artist skill-wise versus what it takes to be a great business owner skill-wise. And to some of you, this may sound like I'm going all over the place, but I promise you all of this ties back into gaining clientele. Now, why am I talking so much about the identifying between business and skills? Is because a lot of you guys don't see this, and this is how it gets overwhelming, and this is how it gets frustrating and daunting, and a lot of us end up quitting. But if you can understand and identify how you're going wrong or where you're going wrong, that's when it starts to get simple. That's when it starts to really paint a clearer picture for you. Because if you are in that part where you're really struggling to build on your skills, and you're really trying to perfect your skills, and you're really trying to get your time down, and you're really trying to get those fundamentals down, then that's a huge reason for you not to be focusing on the strategies and the skills you need to build your clientele, because you're just not there yet. And that is completely okay, and that's a good thing, because then you're able to see that in your career, you're able to see where you are, and that self-realization, that self-awareness that you'll be able to have from now, that's going to carry you in your whole business, is exactly how you're going to succeed. Because once you're self-aware and you know exactly where you stand and exactly where you need to improve, that's when you can take the necessary steps to do what needs to be prioritized in the right time. And I say that because I talk to so many lash artists on a very regular basis, and a lot of times we're just confused, and I get that. I've been there. I've been confused, and I'm trying to help you guys get out of the confusion era, okay? Because it's all about being self-aware. It's all about identifying where you are, identifying your weaknesses, identifying your goals. And I actually put together an entire skills audit for this exact purpose in our community, so that you can effectively and efficiently identify your skills, identify your goals, and create a roadmap essentially on where you want to go and how to get there. Because at the end of the day, a goal is just a dream without a plan. Okay, so first step was figuring out where we are. Okay, figuring out what it is that we need help with or where we're just at, right? So we figured that out, and that is a huge part of it, trust me. Then the next part is, let's talk about the actual things that are gonna get you more clients. Now, one thing I want you guys to understand is that when it comes to building your clientele, this is a business strategy. That means it requires business knowledge. Okay, got to my mouse. Okay, now, one thing I really need to point out here. When it comes to gaining clientele, we need to understand that that falls into the bracket of marketing. It falls into the bracket of sales because we are selling our services. People in other industries, people in the world of business spend years and years and years studying this stuff. Not only do they spend years and years and years studying this, they also spend thousands of dollars trying to test things out, building their education, going to school for this stuff, to learn sales, to learn psychology, to learn how the human brain responds and why we buy and why we choose certain people over other people. Now, that being said, for some odd reason in the lash industry, we seem to think that we are above paying for this information. Am I wrong? Because I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have created things that actually have value, that actually have this information in them. And the biggest pushback is, yeah, but I don't really have any clients right now, so I'm not really gonna purchase anything. And I just can't understand why in this particular industry, we don't understand that you have to financially, not just time, not just effort, we also have to financially invest in our growth, invest in our skills, invest in our education overall to build our business. Some of you may think I'm being too harsh. Others will understand exactly what I'm saying here. You have to understand in the world of business, there is risk and there is reward. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. Okay, and that is how it works. Okay, so when we talk about investing, when we talk about selling courses, when we talk about buying into programs, we need to stop being so skeptical. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm thinking you should buy into everything you see, nor am I saying to go spend money you don't have. What I am saying is that we need to understand that there's a level of investment that needs to be put into our business, because for some reason in this industry, everybody seems to think that getting your 2-day lash training for $800 is enough to give you $1,000 weeks for lash clients. Like, it's just what is thought. That being said, I am the first to say that you could make so much money being a lash artist. You could create whatever lifestyle you want being a lash artist, but that requires you to invest time, effort, and finances to buy into things that are actually going to push you forward. I feel like I'm yelling at you guys. I am, because it really drives me nuts. But that being said, when it comes to gaining clientele, there are so many things that actually go into this. But the main things that I'm gonna tell you about right now are 3 main things. First, understand value perception. This is key, okay? Value perception is going to be massive when it comes to positioning yourself and your services. 2, understand your clientele, understand your audience, understand your niche. This is business strategy 101. Understand your niche. And it is the one thing that as lash artists, we just don't do. And it drives me nuts, okay? Because it works. It works, guys. 3, you need to be able to translate your content into the message, into the niche that you're talking to, and really understand how your content is perceiving your value and perceiving your brand. Okay, I have to put the phone down. It's hurting my arm. Okay, where was I going with this? Oh, okay. These are things that I myself have spent years working on, things I've spent money on. These are things that I've invested in and things that have actually worked, not just as a lash artist, but also as a brand owner. These things work. And I promise you, if you can actually hone in on these skills, you are gonna see clarity. You're gonna see a difference. You're gonna see how this speaks to people on a different level. One thing I want you guys to remember is when you are speaking to everyone, you are speaking to no one. When you are speaking to everyone, you are speaking to no one, okay?
We cannot please everybody. We are not for everybody, which means when we are positioning our business, when we are positioning our service, it should not be for everybody. And that is the biggest mistake we make, is catering to everyone. We should not cater to everybody. We should have a level of exclusivity, and we should be able to carve out the exact person that we want in our chair. Because the more specific we get, the more direct we can be, and the more impactful our image, our message, our everything can be to that person, which increases the probability of them actually booking with us. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Now, there's so much that I want to go into here, but again, it's going to be overwhelming. I have created courses on this exact topic. I put it in my community. The in-depth stuff is there, but the things that you can start doing right now is actually understanding these concepts and taking a look at what you're doing and looking for your errors, okay? Based on what I just said, are you catering to one person? Can we fully see that in your content? Are you translating your message in your content? When someone goes onto your social media, can they see a specific message? If not, then we have some adjustments to make. And I promise you, this is really gonna help, not just gaining clients, but you're gonna see different inquiries come in, different followings, things like that. It's going to help. Okay, part 2 is going to be me breaking these specific points down, okay? So that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. Like I mentioned, I do have a community where I go through all of this stuff in depth, and I give you guys a ton of resources, a ton of assets. I would love for you to check it out. So that is going to be in my description below. If you're ready to jump into the next level of your lashing career and take the business side just as seriously as we took the techniques and skills, then you need to be a part of our empowered community. So that is in the description. But if you guys like this video, if you guys loved this information, if you are ready for part 2, comment down below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back with something new next time. Bye.